The heat shimmered off the asphalt outside the dusty diner as Rhino sat on the curb beside his Harley, finishing a late lunch. The highway hummed nearby, a sound he'd known most of his life. For a moment, everything felt normal. Then a shadow fell over him. He looked up and saw a little girl standing there barefoot in a faded pink nightgown. She couldn't have been older than 5. Dirt covered her feet, her blonde hair was tangled, and her pale blue eyes looked empty, frozen with fear. Rhino softened his voice. "Hey there, little bird. You lost." The girl didn't answer at first. She just stared at the wolf patch on his leather vest. Finally, in a tiny whisper, she said, "Mommy's in the freezer." The words hit Rhino like ice water. Kids said strange things sometimes, but this wasn't imagination. The look in her eyes told him that. There was no confusion, no playfulness, just terror. He crouched to her level. "What's your name?" "Lily." "Okay, Lily. Can you show me where your house is?" She nodded and began walking down the street without another word. Rhino followed immediately, leaving behind his bike and untouched burger. The neighborhood looked peaceful. Green lawns, sprinklers hissing, dogs barking lazily behind fences. But the little blue house Lily led him to felt wrong the second he saw it. Curtains shut tight. Newspaper still sitting on the porch. A child's tricycle overturned in the grass. Lily stopped at the driveway and wrapped her arms around herself. "He'll be back," she whispered. "Who?" "The monster." Rhino felt his stomach tighten. He pulled out his phone and called Sledge, president of the Iron Angels Motorcycle Club. "I've got a situation," Rhino said quietly. "Little girl says her mom's locked in a freezer." There was no hesitation on the other end. "Don't go inside alone," Sledge replied. "We're coming." 5 minutes later, 3 Harleys rolled silently onto the street. Sledge, Hammer, and Dice stepped off their bikes and immediately understood something was very wrong the moment they saw Lily standing barefoot in the heat. Sledge knelt beside her gently. "We're gonna help your mommy, sweetheart." That's when they heard it. Thump. A faint sound from inside the house. Thump. Thump. The men froze. Someone was inside. Sledge's expression hardened instantly. "We're going in." Rhino picked Lily up before Hammer kicked the front door open with a violent crack that echoed across the neighborhood. Cold air rushed out from inside the house. The place looked spotless. Too spotless. Furniture perfectly arranged. Counters gleaming. Not a trace of normal life anywhere. Then they heard the sound again. Faint banging from below. The basement. In the kitchen, they found a heavy basement door reinforced with industrial locks bolted from the outside. Hammer stared at it with disgust. "This isn't a basement. It's a cage." He jammed a crowbar into the frame while Sledge helped force it open. Metal screamed. Wood splintered. Finally, the lock tore free. The basement air was freezing. At the far end stood a commercial walk-in freezer, humming loudly in the darkness. Sledge yanked the handle. The seal broke with a loud pop. Inside, curled beneath a thin blanket among frozen boxes of food, was a woman barely clinging to life. Her skin had turned blue from hypothermia. Her lips trembled violently. One hand was wrapped in a towel where she'd been pounding weakly against the freezer door. When she saw the bikers standing there, tears filled her eyes. "Lily," she whispered. "She's safe," Sledge told her softly. The men worked carefully, wrapping her in warm jackets and carrying her upstairs while Dice called 911. By the time they reached the lawn, sirens were already approaching. Rhino brought Lily over. The little girl saw her mother and burst into tears for the first time all day. She threw herself into her mother's arms while Sarah held her tightly, sobbing with relief. "It's okay, baby," she whispered. "The angels found us." Then the sound of motorcycles filled the street. Dozens of Iron Angels arrived one after another until nearly 200 bikers lined the neighborhood. They formed a silent wall around the house while paramedics treated Sarah. That's when another car pulled up. A polished muscle car. The driver stepped out wearing pressed clothes and a cold expression. Trevor, the monster. The moment he saw Sarah alive and Lily safe, rage flashed across his face. "This is my house," he snapped. "That's my family." Sledge stepped directly in front of him, blocking his path. "Your family is safe now," Sledge said coldly. "From you." Trevor looked around and realized he was surrounded by nearly 200 grim-faced bikers staring silently at him. For the first time, he looked afraid. Police arrived moments later and quickly pieced everything together. Trevor was arrested on the spot, while Sarah and Lily were rushed to the hospital. The Iron Angels followed the ambulance all the way there. They stayed through the night, filling the parking lot with motorcycles while hospital staff brought updates. When the doctor finally stepped outside, he looked stunned by the crowd waiting. "She's going to survive," he said. "Another hour in that freezer, and she wouldn't have made it." Rhino sat quietly on the curb outside the hospital, thinking about how the entire day had changed because he chose to listen to one frightened little girl. Trevor was later denied bail and sentenced to prison for years of abuse and attempted murder. Sarah and Lily never returned to the Blue House. The Iron Angels made sure they didn't have to. Club members helped move them into a safe apartment, furnished it, filled the refrigerator, and even painted Lily's new bedroom bright yellow with unicorn decals. Rhino became part of their family. Lily stopped calling him the biker and started calling him Uncle Rhino. What began as one rescue changed everything. The town stopped seeing the Iron Angels as dangerous outlaws. They saw them as protectors. Inspired by what happened, Sledge created a nonprofit called Angels on Watch, helping victims of domestic abuse escape dangerous situations. The foundation grew quickly, helping hundreds of women and children rebuild their lives. Years later, at a dinner hosted for the club, teenage Lily stood in front of nearly 200 bikers holding a soda and shaking hands. "I don't remember everything about that day," she said, "but I remember one man stopping to listen when nobody else would." The room fell silent. "You all became my family," she continued, tears filling her eyes. "People call you the Iron Angels. But to me, you're just angels." Rhino looked around the room at the men beside him and realized something important. That day outside the diner,